Hello and welcome to another episode of Unboxing Women, where we explore why women in business are often called such a bitch. My name is Dana Rexx and with me is my friend Maika Rose, and we are both independent recording artists and singer-songwriters based in Europe. You can listen to us on our YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast platform. And today's episode is going to be all about acting like a man. Does acting like a man as a woman get you ahead?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. So, we actually did a little bit of research, didn't we?
We did.
Because there's been a couple of movies, because obviously movies are the entertainment industry, right? So we were like, okay, let's review some movies and see what this actually does. So what was the first one we watched? Lara Croft.
It was Lara Croft.
Yeah, so the old version with Angelina Jolie.
With Angelina Jolie, because there's a new one about to come out, or just came out.
I think already
we have to watch that
well,
one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we watched Angelina Jolie first, Lara Croft, and that one was interesting in and of itself.
Very.
Because I'd never seen it before. I'd heard about like Tomb Raider and it being a video game and stuff like that, but I'd never seen it before. I thought it would be like Indiana Jones, but for women, basically.
I see.
Which it's not.
It's not. Maybe at one point we thought it was.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of women, well, I used to play it on the computer as well.
Mm.
But when I look at it now, this is the point that you made after we saw the movie, is that she looks like a woman from a point of view of a man. What?
Well, it's
how does that
it's
work?
basically
The male gaze.
The male
gaze.
Yes. So she was obviously, as a video game in that time, created by men. So
Yes.
she was created as a woman in the male gaze. So she's obviously over-sexualized,
Yes.
which is also very apparent in the movie. But also, what really struck me about this is that everybody's like, oh, she's such a powerful woman, she's great, and blah blah blah, and I looked at it and she's not allowed to be emotional.
No.
She's not allowed to raise her voice. She speaks in a very low, sultry voice. She never once in the movie raised her voice.
No, and she doesn't get into discussions. There was one part where she has like an IT guy, and he has to decode. So we watched the Cradle of Life one for people who want to know, because there are a couple of them.
Right.
And so there's this ball that she gets from this cave temple that's underwater, whatever. And he's decoding the ball. So she calls him and says, have you decoded it yet? And he's like, oh, but I don't know. And, he's like giving all these excuses to not give the information to her. And she doesn't even... there's no telling off. There's no going into discussions. She just says, can you just please send me the information?
She says, why are we even having this conversation?
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
So, and it's all very cool and calm and in a very low and calm voice. No emotion whatsoever. So she doesn't portray her annoyance with him that he's not sending it after the first time she asked, because actually he is working for her.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not that every boss has to get annoyed.
No, I think
obviously.
that actually is, for me, that was a scene where I was like, okay, that's kind of powerful.
Yeah.
But like, obviously on the other side, that IT guy is actually that IT guy is actually being held hostage by the bad guy. So that's why he didn't want to give out the information. But then it was portrayed like she was being, what should have been a strong scene of her being like, why are we even having this conversation? Just send it. Was then manipulated into being a scene where she was being like dominant and like didn't even let him didn't let the IT guy wiggle out of it.
Dare we say bossy?
Yeah, exactly. So it was like what should have been a strong scene turned into something that you could hold against her.
Yes.
Which is so wrong.
And with the male gaze, obviously the big boobs, the thin waist, the nice buttocks, and her hair. She has the kind of warrior Viking braids.
Yeah. Very long.
Very long hair.
Yeah.
Very long hair. She gets it. Spoiler. She gets it burnt at one point in the pool.
True.
And then she walks around after, and the length didn't change though. So men like long hair apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, we already knew that, but but it's
do you though? Please comment.
Yeah, I think it's a load of different things, but that movie for me was especially at the end, there's a scene where she, like you were saying, oh, does she have to be emotional now? Does she have to have a moment of weakness? Because there was that
her
guy.
Boyfriend betrays her. Spoiler again. Oh my God, we have to put it in the title. Her boyfriend betrays her, and that's the only moment where she stoically, like, has like 2 tears.
Yeah. Just
looking at him, not even saying anything. Very stoic. That's the only word I can say for it. There's like,
she spent the entire movie telling him, I don't want to be with you. I don't trust you anymore. Like, why, after having had that the entire movie, would she even have feelings for him? She hasn't shown any feelings for him in the entire movie. And at the end, she's supposed to feel bad.
Yeah. That's also weird.
Right?
Yeah. Why is she all of a sudden dependent on him while the whole time it was kind of him running after her?
Yeah.
Trying to be with her.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she's in love?
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make any sense.
I didn't even think of that when we were watching it.
So basically, that entire movie for me, as a summary, was women, well, obviously Lara Croft, she's still a very capable woman. Right, she does things on her own. She's very independent.
Martial arts. She's allowed to do martial arts.
Yes, she does everything a man does, but she's not allowed to. She's allowed to be sexual, but she's not allowed to have any feminine traits.
Yeah, I mean, aside from her body. Yeah, exactly. So she's allowed to do martial arts, but she has to be very cool. So there's no emotion.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
not getting angry, not being in love, no emotions whatsoever. Even her tone of voice was very neutral the whole way, kind of like this, always talking like this, and never really getting any emotion.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's insane, because that movie is basically the entirety of what we mean when we say acting like a man. Because right now, a load of people are being like, oh, act like a man and you'll get ahead in life. To women, they're saying that to women, and in a sense it is true, because like acting more like a man will get you a more further in life right now than acting like a woman. But is that really what we want to be portraying? Like, do we really want to have to act like men? Like, have to act like men? You can choose to act however you want, but if we have to act like men to get ahead, how is that okay? How is that?
That's not okay, because then we're not ourselves anymore, are we?
Exactly.
We have to try and be somebody else to achieve something that we want. So the person that you are that wants to achieve this has to portray themselves as something different to achieve this. Is that not actually being an imposter? I don't know. I mean, I just found it very interesting, because I saw this movie when it came out, so I was a lot younger, and I think with everything going on in the last couple of years, with the female revolution, if we may call it that, it just, my perception has changed, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to act like, like this martial arts Barbie, just, because
because she was still expected to be good looking.
Yeah.
And put together.
Very put together.
Yeah.
She was disturbingly put together.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you relativize this, or I don't know if that's the right word, but if you put this in relation, like, it is made from a video game. So the original kind of creation was already geared into this way. And I think in general, it's a good thing to kind of have a strong woman as a kind of role model to look up to. However, she is flawed because of these things, because she's still over-sexualized and she's not allowed to act female.
As a video game, she's written by men for men.
Yeah.
I mean, Angelina Jolie is, I love her. She's a great actor. In the video game, Lara Croft has an even bigger rack. Let's just say it that way. She has
away.
She's like an hourglass, but like exaggerated, and so it's clearly the male gaze of what a woman hero should look like.
Yeah.
And I actually just saw a post on Instagram about. I should have done a bit more research. I should have had a look at the person who made this post. It just came up, I think, in Reels.
Mm-hmm.
It was a woman who is a painter, or she draws, and she drew a male Superman as how do I say this?
I've seen it.
You know. Okay.
Yeah. So
continue.
She draws Superman, literally Superman, how women superheroes are drawn in comics.
Yes.
Right?
And he has a massive penis.
Yeah.
A massive
And he's in
penis.
this great pose, like the hand in the hair, and just
Yeah.
kind of angling his body perfectly.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. I actually sent that to you.
Oh, it's you that
Yeah.
sent it to me. There you go.
See
how much I
alike.
was paying
Yeah.
attention.
But yeah,
God.
so it's insane. I saw that and I was like, yeah, they're right. They're right.
Yeah, and it was so I'm sorry, it was so disturbing. The massive penis was like, oh my God. So
I don't want to see that. Sorry.
I don't want to see that, but that's the boobs. So they make the boobs so massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't fit anymore with the tiny waist and the big, we don't really look
but it's
like
also
that.
the facial expression.
The facial expression.
Because
being
he
like,
was looking super sultry.
Oh
yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
I'm so sexy and I'm a superhero.
Yeah, but also like, I want to pull you in, right? I'm so sexy, I want to pull you in with my looks. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how women are portrayed in comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's either that or you're like the dorky next door girl with like glasses.
Yes.
And which is also like, oh God. Anyway, so putting that aside for a second, because we didn't just watch Lara Croft, right?
Yes.
We also watched, and oh God, this was a hard one for me, right? I do not watch horror movies. So we watched Alien.
Yes.
Right?
It's not really a horror movie.
Well, we had this
you
discussion.
can make up your own mind.
Yeah, well, we had this discussion, and at some point she was like, but you have to watch it because it's a feminist thing. I was just like, yeah, watch horror movies. It's a feminist thing. It's
Yes.
the best quote ever.
Watch horror movies. It's a feminist thing. Yes. Well, apparently with Ripley, it is. Because the part was written for a man. And then they cast Sigourney Weaver. And all of a sudden, well, it doesn't really make sense because they actually rewrote it once they cast a little bit. I did some research on it, and it said that the whole crew of the spaceship was actually written as unisex. So any gender would be able to play any of the roles, and then they just did the casting, and they saw what they ended up with, and they said, okay, this is great, a great cast. And then they went in and looked at the roles again and adapted them slightly. I say slightly, but there is one very, very disturbingly so emotional woman on the team that has always annoyed me in the movie. She has always annoyed me. So there are two women on the team, Sigourney Weaver being one of them, who is very collected and straightforward, and also does not raise her voice, actually. And the other one is just an emotional wreck.
Yeah.
All
it's like you
the
go from
time.
one extreme to the other,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah. It is insane. She's so emotional. And the thing is, like, we were just saying, oh, but Lara Croft can't show any emotions, and why can't she be emotional and raise her voice? And now we're saying, oh, she was too emotional, and people will be like, you're being hypocritical. No, watch the movie and tell me that that's not exaggerated. Like, I don't know how I would react if I were in a situation where there was some alien or zombie or whatever chasing me, because I would probably shit my pants. Like, I'm not going to be a survivor. I'm going to be the first person to die. I know this, right? That's fine. Okay.
Know thyself.
Exactly, right? But I don't know, like, it's... Why did they cast... Why, if all the roles are written as unisex, why did they put the woman in the role of the person who was most emotional?
Yeah.
Why?
Or did they rewrite it that way because they had cast a woman? Because it was just too much. People, go and watch it. It was too much.
Like,
I mean,
at some point when you're in shock, something must kick in where you don't cry all the time.
Yes. When you're in mortal danger, you will not make a sound.
Yeah.
You will not be there like, oh my God, because then you will be eaten by the alien.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you are, people, come on, if you are a space woman who has done all the tests and is like a scientist and has been like up in space for, what was it, 20 years or something, in cryosleep on this big industrial mining craft ship. I mean, I don't think that you would be that emotional. I think you would be more put together and know a little more what the procedures were for any kind of emergency up there.
Like, it's fine to see someone crying, be it a woman, be it a man. It's fine to see them get like, because obviously my first reaction would probably be, oh my God, there's an alien on board. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I'd work myself up, right?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't continue that way all the time.
No, she was scared and in a panic, and she's allowed to be. Yeah. But at the end, it was just, oh God, I really have a problem with her. Yeah, I've always had. And Sigourney Weaver, at one point, so Ripley, her character also cried a little bit and stuff, but she was like pressing the buttons on the computer while she was like, oh shit, you know, she was functioning and doing the thing because I need to blow up the spaceship. Which is actually
how I've done that before, like crying and actually doing stuff because you have to, and you have to get it done, and you're just like, I need to get this done. Right? Yeah. That's how you work.
That's more, I think Sigourney Weaver's character would be a little bit more how I would function too. Yeah, I've actually had some emergency emergency
situations
happen,
right?
Where I was there with a bunch of men, and I was the cool and collected one, and I took care of the problem. Yeah. So somebody had a heart attack, and fell. Also hit their head on something very hard, and then were like half unconscious on the ground. And having a heart attack and being like all bloody, and it was and I was the cool and collected one. I didn't like being in that position, and I it would have been better if this had not happened. But I was the one saying, "You have to call the ambulance. You shut up. You go get water." I was that person. Afterwards, I was obviously shaking and crying and like, "Oh my God, I'm in shock now." But I helped the person first, so I put that on hold. All the emotions and everything to just deal with the situation first. And I think that is more what Ripley did as well.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, so Ripley was actually cast, well, I don't know if she was cast that way, but she took the role of second in command. So when the captain died...
Even third in command, I think.
No, I think it was second in command.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't pay attention.
Anyway, so basically, either it was second or third, but all the people who were in command were actually outside the spaceship. And she was like, when they're off the spaceship, I'm in command. Yes. And then her orders were disobeyed. Yes. And this isn't the only time that her orders were disobeyed. They were disobeyed later as well.
Multiple times. People.
So I wonder whether this was already written that way. It probably was already written that way because it makes sense in the plot. Yes. But why did they put Sigourney Weaver in the place of the person who would be disrespected?
Exactly. They kind of say in the review that I saw, that was kind of an insider review, so people who were there, who knew what had happened with the casting, they kind of said that they made her the survivor because nobody would expect an unknown actor also being a woman, being the actual survivor of the movie.
Yeah, because it was her first big movie, wasn't it?
It was her first big movie. She had done a lot of theater, but not really acting in a movie. She was 28, so not super young at the time, which I love as well. I'm a big fan of Sigourney Weaver, by the way.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's, feminist things go, but at the end, she's in the pod. Leaving the spaceship, and so she's starting to get undressed to go into cryosleep.
Yeah.
And then she has the tiniest underpants that I have ever seen. It doesn't even cover her crack.
No. Yeah. It's literally like...
How?
All the others, in the beginning, when they wake up out of cryosleep, you see the men, and they've got like long... they don't have Speedos on.
No,
they have
shorts,
like long shorts. Underwear, because they're obviously in the cryo in their underwear for some unapparent
Some
reason.
even have tank tops on,
some
like
even, exactly,
just normal,
right? So
the
they're
male
covered.
tank tops. They are.
And she's got this teeny tiny slip of an underwear.
This is, what was it, 79 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Was underwear that small in 79, or is she just huge? And
she's not huge.
No, but I mean, she is tall though.
Yeah, but
she's so thin.
It's more because, like, I was saying this before, and I've said this before. Low-rise jeans were made for people with no butt
and no hips. I can't wear low-rise jeans.
And she does have like very shallow hips, but even then, this underwear was made low-rise to fit in, right? So it did not cover her butt. and the question is more what, like,
who decided this?
And why? Why is she like, she was I think she was undressing herself to get into cryosleep in the pod at the end. When, spoiler alert again, she, I mean, this whole thing is a spoiler, but anyway, she notices that the alien is in the pod with her, which I could have told her beforehand because she left the fucking door open. But anyway, so she realizes the alien is in the pod with her, and she's in her underwear, so she, like, but she was probably getting ready to go into cryosleep.
She was, because she just had put her cat into cryosleep.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
So that's probably why she was taking off her clothes. It wasn't like a, but
then they sexualize it.
Exactly.
Well, she hadn't been sexualized for the whole movie, and now she's taking off her clothes, and you can see her butt, and it's very sexy. It's all very sexy, but there's an alien going to eat you. Is this the moment to be?
Yeah.
Sexy?
I mean, the whole movie was, like, in the beginning, Ripley isn't even a big part of it. Like, she doesn't have that many lines, really.
At the start, she doesn't. Sorry,
there's
drinking.
not a lot
drinking.
there's not a lot of talking in the movie anyway.
No, at the start,
it's a lot of exposition and
you don't see her at all. It's about the guy, the late John Hurt. Mm-hmm. John Hurt is his name, who plays Kane, who is going to have the alien attached to him and burst out of him. Because, I mean, you guys, spoiler, if you haven't seen Alien by now, what are you doing? So, yeah.
I mean, I hadn't seen it, but there you go.
I'm a big fan of stuff like that. I'm a bit of a geek. So Comic-Con, here I come. Who's coming with me? Please comment.
Yeah.
She doesn't really have big roles until they come back with the alien thing.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not letting this guy in. You need to observe quarantine.
Yeah.
You know, he's infected by an alien life force. We don't know. You need to put into 24 hours of quarantine. Also, after the fact, the doctor lets them in because he has his own agenda. Basically disrespects her orders. Then they are in this medical lab. And then when that guy wakes up and the alien is suddenly gone, they just let him out. I mean, how stupid can you get? They just let this guy sit right next to them when he's just been infected by an alien life source. They don't know what is happening.
Yeah, and he's at the table eating with them.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
I mean...
And especially...
So she's so critical of it from the beginning.
Yeah,
right?
And we're in the second year of Corona. So the moment they started talking about quarantine, it has a new meaning for us now, for all of humanity. And we're like, oh... It is actually important.
Yeah.
Because we know what can happen.
Yeah.
So it was just
It
weird.
was so strange.
It's very unrealistic.
I mean, it's a horror movie. It's meant
It's
to. It's like
obviously.
like all horror movies. Like, why are you going outside? It's like, why are you letting this guy out of quarantine? It's the same. It's the same thing.
It's like the horror movie with the 6 teenagers, and then they all go somewhere. One goes to the attic, and one goes to the cellar, and one goes outside.
yeah. And I mean, they all die, right?
Yes.
So
that's what you want to get at anyway. So that's basically why. But obviously, it's not
still,
a realistic situation.
No, but it's yeah. I don't know. I think she as a character, was strong. As a female character was strong, but again, she wasn't super emotional. She acted exactly like a man would have.
Yes, that's true.
So
no emotion, and then she was a little bit sexualized at the end.
Exactly. So my problem with this, I don't have a super big problem with her, but I do have a slight issue with it, because my issue is more, if they wrote all of these things as unisex, why did they put her in the role that was being disrespected? Like, they could have had any of the others survive, technically. They didn't have to have the person who was second in command and being disrespected be the survivor. It could have been any of the others, but they didn't. And then why?
Well, I don't know. What is it not a bit of, you see, she was right to want to follow the rules, and she is the only one, everybody who didn't follow the rules gets killed.
Disrespected.
Yes, but right? I mean, so at the end, it's rightful that she does.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like, if again, I don't have a huge problem with this movie, as like from a feminist standpoint, except for the really emotional woman. But the thing that is most annoying to me is if they had cast a man in the role of Ripley, and like, let's say he didn't survive. If they wanted a woman to survive, let's say he didn't survive, but Ripley had been, like, Sigourney Weaver had played any of the others, and that one would have survived, basically. So let's say they cast a man in this role, and they would have disrespected his orders instead. Would people have believed that they would disrespect? Because she was,
I don't know.
She was supposed to be in her late 20s as well, so would they have?
I don't know. Actually, I think we might have had to watch the other Alien movies as well, because obviously after this became a big feminist kind of cult thingy, and then they made Alien 2 and 3, and in those she is really a power player, and they love her for it, obviously. Yeah. That's how she's, in geek world, she's, so well known, and they love her so much because she became this feminist role. So I think we have to do another episode and watch the others. But spoiler alert to Maika, they're worse, like horror-wise. Because obviously they came later. So maybe it's not a great idea.
Maybe not, no. But no, like, again, so the thing is, again, she acts like a man. So
in the other, she's also cool and collected.
Yeah.
Mostly. In the third one, she's actually a clone of herself and mixed in with alien DNA. And she's so cool and very strong. And she kind of, all the men that are playing in the movie, she kind of, just they
don't matter.
They don't matter at all. And but they wrote this in specifically to make it a feminist point that she's so strong. And one guy tries to play basketball with her and obviously loses, but gets really nearly torn apart by her. So it's I think they just saw, this is
people like this. It was an accident, right?
An accident. This is feminist,
didn't mean to make
but
this
people
feminist.
like it. Yeah. Let's make the others even more so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I like it more than Lara Croft, though.
Yeah, definitely more than Lara Croft. She was a better, more realistic figure, hero. I think. I think she was probably one of the most realistic in the ones we watched, in the movies we watched.
Yes, because we also watched Little Women.
Exactly, the new version, because
From
there is an
2019.
original one, but
Yes.
from 2019. We watched Little Women, and I think the characters in there are quite, they're quite realistic as well. They face different issues though, because it's a different century.
Yes.
They face a lot of different issues, and it's more of a coming of age. They say it's a coming of age movie for 4 different women, and they do all have different characters, which I find really well made, because it showcases that, we're not all the same.
Yes, we're all different. That was good in that movie. So this is in the 19th century, mid-19th century, that Little Women is set. And what struck me the most was I hadn't seen this movie before.
I've seen the old one,
or even read the book, and then it struck me from a music business or entertainment business standpoint. Well, no, from any business standpoint, that women for a long time, for centuries and centuries, were not allowed by law to have a profession and to make money.
They weren't even allowed to own anything.
They weren't allowed to, because they were actually owned.
Property. They were property.
They were property.
They were sold with their dowries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably where all of this male, possession kind of feeling that we still have nowadays comes from, because we just weren't allowed to go out and be independent and make money.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't seen as it wasn't seen as proper, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because they didn't think women had minds. They thought they were only there to cook, to clean, to have kids. Basically, the purpose of a woman was to run the household.
Yes.
So the man would get the money and own everything, and the woman had to usually even ask before she spent any money on anything. Like, she'd maybe have some pocket money given to her by her husband every week or month or something, which, when you think about it, we do that with children now, because they don't know how to spend money. They don't know how to be fiscally responsible. And they thought the same of women, because they thought, they're frivolous. They spend a lot. And they don't know how to...
That's actually talked about in the movie with one of the characters, the one Meg, played by Emma Watson. Spoiler again. No, we should stop saying this, because we're going to put it in the title.
Yeah.
That she buys some material for a dress, which actually they don't have money for.
Yeah.
But because all her friends are buying new material and dresses and stuff, she kind of feels left out and also obliged, peer pressure by her friends to do it. And then she gets into trouble with her husband. Well, into trouble. They have a discussion and he's like, I can't afford this,
They actually have a very from what I've seen, they have a good relationship.
Yes. So that's great. But on the other hand, they're not allowed to make their own money, and they have to kind of depend on, they're kind of gold diggers, because they have to
you were saying this,
marry a wealthy husband, because otherwise, well, you're going to be poor your whole life, and you want nice things as well, and also you need somebody, if you're going to have children, to be able to pay
take care and pay for the children,
for food, basically. And I thought, on the other hand, people are saying, oh, you need to make something of yourself to these women. But how can they? They're not allowed to.
But who
they
said
have
that
to
to them?
The aunt.
Really?
Yes, the aunt said you need to make something of yourself.
But she always said you need to be married. You need to marry well, and that's what she meant.
Also, but so you have to look successful so that men will fall in love with you and
because
want you.
It was also expected of women to be accomplished, and I'm using air quotes, because they had nothing else to do. So they were like, oh, you have to be accomplished in piano or art or singing or any
painting,
sort of, or like stitching, like doing needlework or whatever. You had to be accomplished. I guess technically, if you were rich, if you came from a rich family and you were the daughter of a rich couple, you had the time and the luxury to be able to like learn
Yes.
all these things. But the family that this follows, they're not super rich. They're not poor by any means in that time. They're
just
portrayed as
kind
poor,
of
but
middle
they're not.
class.
Yeah,
I would say
yeah.
they're normal, so they do have food, but
Yeah.
they don't have a large amount of money to go out, for example, to even buy a piano.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well, I mean, a piano was like
it's very
super
expensive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still kind of is.
Yeah, but back then it was like ebony and ivory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, and then what also the aunt says, what I thought was very interesting is, so on the one hand, she's saying, okay, so you have a couple of options. Or you get married to a wealthy guy, or you get rich yourself like I have, she says. And the only way you can do that is by being on stage. So basically...
Or running a whorehouse.
And she said, which is basically the same thing. So she is saying, or you are... you get a wealthy husband, or you use your body... So in a whorehouse, you're using your body, or on stage, you are also using your body to get men to kind of throw money at you and become rich yourself.
Yeah.
But it's all by the grace of men.
Because they had all the power.
And it also shows that, because this is based on real life, this is not like Alien, like a sci-fi movie, which is, you know, not real. This is actually a period that has gone by and we know about it, and they were portraying real life back then.
Yeah.
So what strikes me is that they make the analogy of if you're a female artist, like singer or something on the stage, you're basically a whore.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't new to me because I watch a lot of historical stuff like period drama, etc., etc. But yeah, that used to be the common kind of thing because opera singers, back then it was mostly opera, were actually often mistresses of some
wealthy
bachelors or
guy.
Yeah, some wealthy
or
bachelors.
Politicians or
they
something.
would have them pay for their house. Basically, you would keep a mistress in a house somewhere, and the more high-end she was, so the more like if she was an opera singer, you would have to keep her in a good house, in a good square somewhere. And you would basically pay for her life.
Hence the wealth.
And you'd get to sleep with her. So it's like basically...
so if you wine and dine her and pay for stuff, men think... They are entitled to sleep with her.
Yeah.
And I think it all stems from, well, I'm pretty sure it all stems from all this history that we have, like thousands of years of history of being oppressed by various things. Religion comes to mind.
Yeah.
And having to just do what men... You said gatekeepers, which I like very much.
So you were talking about, because there's a scene in the movie where Jo, who is probably the most actively feminist character in the movie because she's very independent. She refuses to marry her childhood friend because she loves him as a brother, and he was unable to see the difference between that love and other love. So he thought he was leading her on when actually she was just treating him the same way she would treat a brother or a sister.
Yeah.
Which still happens, by the way, all the time. And people call it, it's the friend zone. I'm like, no, I just, you can't change how you feel.
Yeah, he was in the friend zone.
So, he was friend zoned hard. So basically, she is a writer. So she actually goes to New York to also get away from this guy because she's broken his heart, but also kind of to write and to get her stuff published and to be independent and to earn her own money. And she was working as a governess, so she was teaching children, and then she was writing on the side, basically. Yes. And at some point, pretty much at the end of the movie, there's a discussion between her and her editor.
Her publisher,
right.
Her publisher, who is a man, obviously.
An old man.
Old white man.
With like the beard and the glasses and everything.
Yeah.
So and you said that conversation for you was very striking, right? Because they had this very open conversation kind of about copyright.
About copyright.
And publishing deals and etc. So, how did we come to this? You said you said gatekeeping. Yes.
I was wondering if that conversation actually was written in the book. If anybody has written the book, please comment. I need to read it.
I'll read it, yeah.
So it was the copyright conversation written in the book, or was it an actual conversation in real life that we know about and we put in the movie? Or was it the movie people who said, we need to make this more transparent for the larger public, because the music industry and entertainment business in general, and anything to do with copyright and all of that and publishing is not transparent enough, and people don't know how hard it is for the actual artists to get money, how easy it is to actually just cheat them out of their money as a publisher, as a label, as a whatever else in in the corporate music industry, but the artist is always left stripped bare. And I thought that conversation was so interesting. Like, why is this in this movie? Did it really happen? Did it not? Is it a point that the filmmakers are making?
We'll have to look it up, because at the end of the day, basically what happened is he was like, she wanted an advance because she wanted money for her work, money right?
For her family as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And he says, I'll give you 500 for the copyright.
The copyrights.
She's like, what? And then he explains it.
Yeah, and he explains what the copyright is.
I don't think...
Yeah,
the publisher would actually explain.
Would they actually explain it? Because once he said it's the right for kind of like sequels and blah 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 and here and there and putting merch, but at the time they still had that as well.
Using your characters for like sequels, republishing, reprinting, and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yes. And she was like, well, that sounds like something I should actually keep. Yeah, I would like to own. So she was like, I'm not doing that, but I want an advance. And he was like, you can only have it if you sell your copyrights. And she was like, well, I'm not doing that. So, and then she starts haggling over the price of her royalties, which, by the way, he was only giving her 5%.
5% of royalties.
After he had already recouped all of his things, which is very normal in the music industry. You get not 5%, but like record labels will only start paying artists after they've recouped all the money they've put into it.
So your advance, also the price of the song that they had to pay, I mean, I'm talking song-wise, so book is the same. So he had to pay, you have to pay a myriad of people around you, the producer, the mastering guy, the photographer for your artwork, the Photoshop guy who does the thing for your artwork, and the marketing and the social media person.
The instrumentalists who are on your track.
The instrumentalists, exactly. Yeah. All these people are paid by the label, and once they recoup all of the costs, then they start paying from the stuff that comes in. After that, they start paying you your X%. So, one, it's a long time after.
Yeah.
So you don't get paid immediately. Two,
except for the
advance. Yes.
Which is basically your own money if the song goes well. So they're giving you your own. It's like a bank loan. People don't know that if they don't recoup even the advance, that you're actually in debt to them. Yeah.
So this is a big one for me, because as an independent artist, I've been, trying to learn about copyright and publishing rights and all of the rights that music has, and it's a big puzzle and spider web basically, and it's really not transparent. And I only know this now because I'm an independent artist. Can you imagine somebody who likes music, who listens to the radio every day, but works in pharma, I don't know, or works in a store? They don't know about all of this.
No.
And they think that I'm an artist, and because I have a song on Spotify, that I'm making a ton of money, and I must be so rich because I'm an artist. But that's not true.
No.
That's not true. Only if you're like in the high stratosphere of Lady Gaga, Katy Perry place.
Yep.
And it's and that's why I thought it was so important, because people only, and that's also what they say in the movie, if you don't write about it, people won't care about it. Yeah, but people don't care about this, so you shouldn't write about it. No, that's not true.
Exactly.
If you don't put it in a movie, then the broader public doesn't know about it, and also doesn't care about it.
Exactly.
That's why I like the copyright.
Yeah. So there's two things I want to say about this. So the one is the gatekeeping. We were talking about gatekeeping because the publisher is a man. And we were thinking about how this is still the case today. There are several levels of gatekeeping going on in any sort of industry, but most of these gatekeepers are men. Most of them are white men. Most of them are above 50 or 60 years old.
Yes.
Right? And people don't realize this. So, like, if you try to get on the radio, for instance, you're met with not one, but probably 2 or 3 white men.
A myriad.
A myriad of white men who all have to say, oh, yes, this is okay, or no, we don't like this. And a lot of the time, there's something called, a radio? They push songs to radios. There's a
radio
name for
plugger.
it. Yeah, a plugger, exactly.
Male.
Mostly male. And they then know all of these people, so they're buddy with them.
Yes.
Right? And it's all that is like it all stays in the same kind of system. So like record labels who have big artists, they get their songs on the radio no problem because they have all of these connections.
They're all buddies.
Exactly, and they want to keep it all in the same kind of circle of money.
It's clear it's not about the music. I mean, yes, it's radio music and you can hear that it's specifically made for radio. Yeah. But still, if you are outside of that and you have a great song that could be, if they're playing this Justin Bieber song, why aren't they playing my song? Yeah. It's because you're not in the buddy system.
Yeah. So it basically, there's a load of gatekeeping going on, and it's still to this day mostly men. And that is very frustrating. So that, I think, was very well portrayed in then. It also shocked me a little bit that it made me think about how it's still the case today. So that was one big thing. But
150 years later, it's still the same.
Right? 150 years later, and we're still having repercussions from women being property.
Yes.
Right? But another thing I wanted to say about the movie is that none of these women are portrayed as acting like men. Even Jo,
they were all
she's
acting
independent,
like
but she also has a streak of kind of being very strong-minded and kind of having this conversation with her mother where she's like, why do I sometimes go into these furies where I don't care about people? Not in a way that it's like, oh, she's being a bitch.
No, not at all.
No, it's just kind of, this is a character trait she has, a character flaw maybe, but a character trait. And none of these girls, little women, were being portrayed as being men in any way, shape or form. No. But all of them were strong in their own way.
They were very much a bunch of sisters being a bunch of sisters.
Yeah, that was like the in-between. Yeah. But if you think about Amy going to paint in Paris, and she turned him down because you said this was great.
Yeah, she turns down the guy who actually asked her sister to marry first, and even though the youngest one has loved the guy, Laurie, the guy, for her whole, basically since she was a teen, since the family met Laurie, she says, look, you chose my sister first, and I've been kind of second to my sister all the time, and I will not kind of be your consolation prize.
Yeah.
But she does end up marrying him, though.
We don't know what happens in between. I think again the books probably give more clarity. But yeah, I think she was strong in a different way. They all had their own characters, and they all acted together as sisters, and it also shows sisterly love so well.
Yes, women together that can support each other,
even though they're different,
and don't have to be portrayed as backstabbers or don't have to do that all the time to each other. Wow, that was a lot.
Jeez. Okay, so I guess quick kind of summary. Lara Croft acts like a man, doesn't really act like a woman. Ripley, little bit better. In that case, because there are parts of her that do actually seem more like we would react.
Yes.
Little Women has its historical problems, but portrays the characters really well.
Does portray women as they are.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm an only child, so I cannot comment on the fighting and, just like being all on top of each other and being like, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I can't, that's not
I
really
can
me.
relate. I have a brother and a sister.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah.
So I couldn't relate to that, but just because of my family situation. But for the rest, they were all pretty normal women.
Yeah.
Which was great to see.
Which was great. Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's all for today, because it's been a long one. So thank you for tuning into Unboxing Women. Make sure to leave your thoughts about this down below. I'd love to know, we'd love to know your discussion on this. Like, it would be so great. Be sure to connect with us on our socials, which you can find in the show notes. Send us a DM or let us know your personal experiences with the hashtag #suchabitch.
Or are there any more movies we need to watch?
Exactly, yeah. And don't forget to support your favourite artists through merch or donations. My name is Maika Rose, and I've been chatting with Rexx. Tune into another episode of Unboxing Women next week. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.